welcome to the 2021 Baccalaureate service for our UHA graduating seniors. I wouldn't normally give you a mask update, but I feel some responsibility to do so. As you know, at the end of last week, our governor followed the CDC guidelines and issued an order that stated that anyone that had been vaccinated no longer had to wear a mask, which is wonderful news. However, in that order, he also made a mandate that in a school setting, K through 12 educational settings, that everyone would still have to wear a mask. Well, so I told the seniors before they came in tonight that they would not have to wear their masks tonight. We're not in the school setting, but I felt an obligation to tell them that for the next 5 days, we're going to continue to follow our UHA guidelines, which I know we're all exhausted with that, me included, but we are going to be compliant. We can do it for 5 more days. This has been an incredibly unique school year, and I really want to say how much I appreciate everyone, all of you in this room, these wonderful young men and women that have been compliant and respectful and been cooperative during this most challenging year. So thank you to you guys. I will forever be grateful. So again, welcome to our service. This is a very special group of talented young people that have certainly will be always remembered for their many accomplishments. They are a wonderful, special group. They also will be remembered for their perseverance because they have been the class and the only class that took their entire senior journey during a global pandemic. So they will certainly have things to share with their children when they get older about their senior year, I'm sure. But although this year has been filled with so many ups and downs and so many uncertainties, this group has been most successful because they have remained positive, they've remained focused, they've remained cooperative, they've remained dedicated, and they are just a wonderful group. And I am sure that their future is very, very bright. I'm confident of that. So thank you again for coming this evening to celebrate and send off this very special group of young men and women. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight is a very special night for our senior class, and we wanted to have a really special guy to speak for us. This guy has been teaching at UHA for 13 years. He is a graduate from Christian County High School. He is a graduate from Western Kentucky University. He has a bachelor's in religious studies and a master's in history with a focus on American history. He's a 2012 National James Madison Foundation Fellowship recipient for Teachers of American History, and he's a 2013 Daughters of the American Revolution history teacher. He has taught every class from AP World to AP US and Philosophy of Religion in UHA. And without further ado, Brad Pritchett, please.
Thanks for that intro, Elvin. Appreciate that. Good evening, parents, family, staff, and of course, the graduating class of 2021. What a long, strange trip it's been this past year. Who would have thought a year ago that we'd be where we are and experience the things that we've experienced for that past time? A year ago at this time, we as administrators and faculty were trying to figure out how to pull off some kind of a graduation for the class of 2020. And now here we are, getting back to somewhat of a semblance of normal. I'm glad, and I know you all are as well. It's definitely been a year for the history books. And, well, speaking of history, I would be remiss if, as your history teacher, I didn't take a little bit of time to hit you with a little bit of history one more time before you leave UHA. As I'm sure you remember, all of you from my history class, when George Washington, our nation's first president, decided not to run for president a third time in 1796, he decided to write a letter to the entire citizenry of the United States. His farewell address was once among the most read and studied pieces of American rhetoric, even selling more copies in the nation than the Declaration of Independence. In his address to the American public, he celebrated the great advances of the nation, highlighted concerns that he saw for America, and gave warnings about the threats to the unity and future of our young nation. The ending of your senior year and your time as UHA students being not far distant, you picked me to stand here and present to you some thoughts and advice as you ready yourself to head off into a brand new stage of your life. It's fitting then that I take this opportunity to impart some thoughts to your class in a way that I see most fit. I guess you could say, Mr. Pritchett's farewell address to you. So bear with me for a history lesson one last time. As you graduate this next week, I'm sure that you're getting all sorts of advice from family and friends and other special people in your lives. A lot of the rhetoric that I've heard used this year is focused on how you finished out your senior year in unprecedented times. But to be honest, that phrase has always kind of bothered me. Unprecedented times. The word unprecedented means that there are no previous examples of something like that has happened in the years before. And while COVID and social justice and equal rights protests and violence and economic uncertainty are certainly something that we should all be concerned about, they're certainly not unprecedented. Rather than look tonight, though, at all those things that you weren't able to do or maybe enjoy as seniors, I want to look instead at reflecting on how similar events in American history build the character of those who lived through them. The messages that people who lived through those times would want you to take away from your own experiences will give you more than you could possibly need as you head out into this new phase and the next stage of your life. I hope that you'll take the lessons and the words from people in history to heart. Last year, CNN ran a story featuring advice for seniors during the COVID-19 pandemic. One person interviewed was 93-year-old Billy Shelley. Miss Shelley grew up in Dillon, South Carolina, and was in elementary school when a polio epidemic swept through the United States in the 1930s. She recalled her last year of elementary school. My grammar school graduation was canceled because of the polio epidemic, she spoke. It was kind of like things are now. You couldn't go to the picture show. That's the movies for all of you who aren't familiar with that. You couldn't go to church and you couldn't go to school. You just stayed home. Polio was an infectious disease caused by a virus that moved throughout the abdominal cavity to eventually affect your central nervous system. It caused a variety of effects, including fever, muscle weakness, and even paralysis if the infection spread into your spinal column. One of the ways to treat it was to put a person into a tank ventilator. Now, this was basically like a giant metal kind of coffin that your head stuck out of that they could pressurize. And it was nicknamed the iron lung because of that. This metal tube could be pressurized to encourage your body to breathe when it couldn't breathe on its own. In Miss Shelley's county, there was only one iron lung for the entire county. And since polio was very contagious, there was a great fear about contracting the virus. Polio was very contagious, she stated, and everyone was afraid. There was nothing that you could do. It wouldn't be the first time, though, that Miss Shelley's experience in education would be cut short. In 1943, she was ready to graduate from high school. 1943, guys. World War II. And the threat of air raids and bombings caused a disruption in many people's normal lives. When she was on her way to her high school graduation, she reflects on what happened. She said, "I put on my cap and gown and I went to the high school. When I got to the school grounds, though, everyone was leaving. And someone told me that there had been a bomb threat. Airplanes were possibly going to fly over our location, and they didn't want any lights shining to give off our position." Twice now, a regular rite of educational passage denied to her. But rather than letting an epidemic and a world war stop her, she instead embraced the difficult times. Twice she had persevered through a time that was very tumultuous for her, and she would continue to experience her own hardships throughout the rest of her life. As a teenager, though, she volunteered as an air spotter. She'd spend her Sundays on top of the local department store with a pair of binoculars and a chart that had pictures of airplanes that could be used to identify possible air threats that might be flying over the area. She took business classes and achieved a career by landing a job with Western Union. She married a year after high school, and then her husband got drafted to go serve in the war. When she was asked about all of these experiences, she said that she never really thought about stopping or changing her course for life. "You just have to keep on going," she said. "My advice to graduates now, you don't know what the future is going to hold or what it's going to bring, but you have to keep a prayer or a vision in your mind of what you want to achieve and go for it. Keep trying, and nothing can stop you." As the United States headed into the 1950s, major changes started happening as our nation started experiencing widespread social change. The civil rights movement began to challenge Jim Crow segregation. and racially motivated violence across the United States. In 1953, Mr. Ernest Green was one of a small group of African American students who attempted to enter the newly integrated public school system of Little Rock, Arkansas. The Little Rock Nine, as they were known, reported to school and were forced to enter the building through a throng of racial slurs and jeers intended to send them back to their segregated schools from which they came. President Eisenhower was then forced to deploy the National Guard to the Little Rock school to force the governor of the state, who had barred the door at the time, to allow the students to enter. Mr. Green was the only senior, and he worried that his choice to leave his own school to enter the public school might possibly result in a denial of his own graduation and a receiving of a high school diploma. But when asked about his advice for seniors living through all of our current issues, he responded by saying, "Don't go it alone. Have the courage to reach out and bring new people into your circle of conversation. And by coming together, we will overcome life's challenges." None of you all are alone. It may feel like it sometimes. Sometimes it may feel like you're the only person out there going through what you're going through, and that no one really understands what's happening to you. But if you follow Mr. Green's advice, you'll know that facing even the hardest of adversity, you're never truly alone. Don't go it alone. You've got classmates, family, teachers, administrators, and other special people in your life who are living this challenge and who are there to live every challenge with you. You've made decisions on how to handle the challenges you've faced this year and in the past 2 years. But I'm sorry to tell you that those decisions really don't end when you walk across the graduation stage later this week. In fact, they get a lot harder. I'd be at fault here if I also didn't find a way during this baccalaureate address to skip some religion and philosophy into my farewell address. As someone who teaches religion, you guys know that there's a class for that at UHA, right? I find that humans have had some pretty incredible ways of explaining their unique experiences throughout time. Personally, as a Christian, I find solace in the Bible whenever life decides to throw hardship my way. One of my favorite books of the New Testament is Paul's letter to the Roman church. If anyone understood what adversity and challenge was about, it was the early Christian church in Rome. Located in the epicenter of the greatest political entity of their day, those early Christians didn't fit into any real particular group. They were excluded from the Jewish population due to their belief in Jesus of Nazareth. They were ridiculed for their behavior by the polytheistic Romans, who didn't really understand why they wouldn't worship the gods or the emperor. And they faced constant persecution, some of which even involved throwing Christians into the Colosseum to be sport for the amusement of the people as they were torn apart by lions and tigers and bears. Thank you for that. In the 5th chapter of the book of Romans, Paul writes to a group of believers who had every reason possible to give up and no reason to continue to persevere. Paul writes, "But we rejoice in our suffering, knowing that suffering produces endurance. Endurance produces character. Character produces hope. And hope does not put us to shame." You see, when disappointment causes us to become disillusioned with this world in which we live, hope reminds us that there are still people and ideals that we should believe in. When hurt causes us to shut off our hearts for fear of another tragedy that will meet us and bring us pain, hope reminds us that pain heals and that our hearts will be able to be opened again. When adversity threatens to crush our spirits, hope reminds us to continue toward a better day that we hope for and that we await for in the future. And when we feel at our very worst and the world seems at its most unlovable, hope reminds us that love, true love, never dies. I'm a firm believer that crisis and adversity build character. I could tell you about the difficult times that I've faced in my life, but tonight's about you. So let me address you here directly. I'm going to take a minute and look at each one of you. When you find a time in your life where there is nothing that you can do to solve an issue, and you may not ever feel like that's something that's going to come your way, but it will. You can ask all the people in this room that. When you find that time where there's nothing you can do to solve an issue, you'll meet your true self. Those times will require fortitude of mind, body, and spirit. They'll require you to be resilient beyond anything that you knew that you could possibly endure. You'll have to demonstrate courage. You'll have to show bravery, and you'll have to rise to meet that challenge. In medieval times, blacksmiths made swords by taking a raw piece of metal, heating it in an intense fire, hammering it into shape, dousing it with water, and repeating those steps until the desired result was reached. Each time in the fire and each time that metal was hammered, the metal became stronger. Not all blades could take the intense heat and pressure, and some broke when the metal's integrity could no longer handle the stress being placed upon it. But the blades that survived that process were greatly prized by all people. We've tried our best as a school to shape you into students that can handle similar experiences. You're going to have the intense fire. You're going to have the hammer that's constantly banging at you from the outside pressures that you will face. You'll be pushed and bent almost to the point of breaking. But the good news is that you're here. You've been with us. You're going out for a new life. And you take with you everything and everyone that you've had the lucky experience to have for your time as you've gone through all of your formal education in lower, middle, and upper school. Even if you weren't with us for the whole time, I'd like to think that just being with us for a little bit gives you an even better chance to endure those hardships that will come your way. I know you've had good times, and I know it's not always been fun or easy, but everything that you've endured is a part of who you are and who you will become. I'm thankful for the opportunity to have been a small part of that, as I know my fellow teachers and administrators are as well. And in the Christian faith, times of gathering give us a chance to reflect on that. Usually, the end of a service, like the Baccalaureate service, comes with a benediction. From the Latin bene, meaning good, a benediction offers well wishes and a blessing for anyone who's in attendance who is now departing. Now, Will's going to be here in just a second to offer the benediction for your class, but I have one of my own for you. May you have enough happiness to keep you sweet, enough trials to keep you strong, enough sorrow to keep you human, enough hope to keep you motivated, enough failure to keep you humble, enough success to keep you eager, enough determination to make each day more wonderful than the one that you've just experienced. May you always have the hindsight to know where you've been, the foresight to know where you're going, and the insight on how you hope to get there. May you always strive for new heights, looking ever for the destiny that's awaiting each and every one of you. And most of all, may you always feel the love in your hearts of all those who've poured into you a little bit of themselves. We love you, class of 2021, and we wish you all the best today, tomorrow, and always.
First, I would like to thank everybody for coming out tonight, and I would like to thank everybody who took a part in putting this together for us. All right, let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you for allowing us to gather tonight to celebrate the entire class of 2021. Thank you for allowing us to have the amazing year we've had, even through all the uncertainty due to the pandemic. I pray that you continue to watch over each and every one of us as we go our separate ways this coming fall. I pray that each and every one of us will follow the path that you paved for our lives. Thank you for all the amazing moments you've allowed us to share together throughout our time at UHA. I pray that we all continue to glorify you in everything we do in the near future. Thank you for putting us in a situation to attend a school that felt just like a family. I pray all of this in your name. Amen. Amen.
Okay, so this has been an incredibly emotional morning. I'm exhausted. No, I'm okay. That video was incredible. That was done by the yearbook staff, and Miss Roberts led that, and it was incredible. Like, I think when you watch that, I think you all would agree that UHA isn't perfect, but I think it's the best around by far. It really is. And this is an incredible group of kids. It really is. I wish I could express that more, but I don't have the words. But anyway, it's been a hard year, and I love these kids, and I'm gonna miss each and every one of them so much. Tonight, on top of an incredibly hard year, in February, we lost a beloved teacher, Mr. Hill. So, a lot of you probably donated to the Mr. Hill Memorial Scholarship. He touched a lot of lives at UHA. I think everybody in this room had Mr. Hill for algebra. And that was a very challenging, difficult time, on top of a difficult year, to lose a teacher. I've been in this business for 35 years, and I've never lost a teacher during the school year. So that was hard as well. But like we do at UHA, we carry on, and the Art and Literature Club have a really nice thing planned to honor him and planting a tree. And he will forever have his hand in UHA. He left a mark for sure. So we have a Simon Hill Memorial Scholarship. You had to apply, you had to have a 3.0, and it was an essay. Let me get that. So one of the things that Mr. Hill, one of the quotes, it was his favorite quote, and the essay had to be written what this quote means to you. If a man does not keep, I don't have my glasses, if a man does not keep pace with his companions, perhaps it is because he hears a different drummer. Let him stop to the music which he hears, however measured or far away. That's a quote by Henry David Thoreau. And Mr. Hill definitely had his own beat. He heard his own drummer, and he was wonderful and unique and a great math teacher. The recipient of this award tonight, it's a $500 scholarship, goes to a wonderful young man, a very caring, wonderful young man that wrote an excellent essay about Mr. Hill. And this tonight is presented to Riley Simmons. So, Zane Lyle couldn't be here tonight, but Zane, we would have presented Zane with an award. Zane is the recipient of the Pink Ribbon Scholarship Award of $1,000. So congratulations to Zane.
Okay, I think this is the last one for the scholarships, but the family of a UHA alum established a scholarship in her memory a few years ago, and I can't remember how long this has been, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. And you all may remember Mr. Gray coming during our awards day ceremony to talk about his wife, Melissa Yates Gray. She was a UHA student several years ago who really was an academically gifted young lady that went on to pursue a science degree from Georgetown and then went on to pharmacy school. And so when she passed away with cancer, her family wanted to give back to her school that meant so much to her because she felt she had a very good foundation, academic foundation here from UHA. And they have bestowed upon this honor to select a student to the science faculty. And so Ms. Knoll and Ms. Bradley and Ms. Atwood and I each year have the rough task of trying to select somebody for this honor. And they wanted it to be somebody who's going to pursue science as a career. And so the recipient of this year's Melissa Yates Gray Scholarship is a very deserving young man. He actually is serving as the valedictorian of the class of 2021. So, Rohan Desai.
Okay, we wanted to do a couple of special thank yous. There are so many people that worked so hard to do so many things this year to make this senior year really special for you seniors. And I only got to be your homeroom teacher for 1 year, but I want you to know how much I love each of you. And it's been really a privilege getting to know you better this year. But there's some people specifically we want to thank and give them a little recognition. 2 of them are actually not here tonight, but I want to mention them because they've been really a huge part of some of the things we've been doing. First of all, we wanted to give a big thank you to Ms. Roberts for this wonderful video. So let's give her a round of applause. It was amazing. So we'll give her little thank you at school tomorrow. We also want to thank Liz and Johnny Brown for the awesome music at Baccalaureate. They were amazing, so thank them. The choir, awesome, by the way, too. So fabulous. So. We also want to give a special thank you to, I'm trying to work here, she is Karen Covington. Now, Karen, I'm going to cry because she literally saved us. So, and I've had a really crazy emotional day. If you want to hear about it, I'll tell you later because literally I can't make this stuff up. But, so Karen, literally, it's bad. So Karen helped us with the invitation. So the wonderful invitation that was made for this senior dinner and for Baccalaureate was done by her. And it was so over the top fabulous, and we just want to give you a little thank you. So thank you so much. She also decorated these tables tonight. They're so beautiful. She's so amazing. Okay, we also want to give a special thank you to, and I don't know where she is, Rebecca Kansler. Where are you? Can you come up here for a second? So she has been the room, what do you call it? Room mom? Room mom. That sounded wrong all of a sudden. She has been the room mom for this class. And she has done so many things, so much hard work, so many notifications to parents and making sure we're all communicating. And we want to thank her because it hasn't been easy, especially since she was moving and things have been crazy, but she's been a huge asset to this class and we just want to thank her. And last but not least, our amazing speaker tonight, Mr. Pritchett. He did such a good job.
And I know there were a lot of other people that had a hand in this, and we appreciate each and everything that you all have done. And I appreciate all the support. Yes, and Mr. Jennings for helping us with getting this video and everything together. We've called him panicked a few times, but he's come through for us, and we really, really appreciate it. So, but I just, Miss Craig was talking about how she loved y'all, and I thought, gosh, I love them too. So, but yeah, we go back a long way, right? So I was looking back at my phone when they started showing pictures of some outdoor school trips, and I've got some pictures of us being in the monsoon at Williamsburg, Virginia. Y'all may remember that. Walking around with rain ponchos, and but wasn't that great that Miss Knoll was able to create a trip on Friday afternoon for a Monday when y'all were supposed to be in New Orleans that week? So I just hope you know that you're loved, and we're going to miss you. And when you leave, a piece of our hearts are going with you, and we appreciate all of you. We had a little token of something we wanted to give to the kids, so we're going to call y'all up real quick, so y'all get on your feet and be ready to come. I guess we're going alphabetical order from the back. Their names are on them. Oh yeah, we'll start with Jaws. Jaws always has to go last. We're going to have Jaws last. Just a little something for you. So, and Zach Wilson. Sarah Whitman. All the W's around us here. Luke Welch. Elvin Wagner. Maggie Humphrey. Trey Stone. Riley Simmons.
Oh, there is this one.
Noah Schaus. Krishna Shaw. DJ Quarles. This is the one that calls me Kim Possible in physics every day. Haley Pollard. Beth Peebles. And Haley took physics in the middle of the pandemic last year. So. Paula Patel. Matali Patel, I know who's coming next. So. Grace Pape. Britton. Evelyn Morales. Some of these kids that are coming up have had older siblings, so. Blair Moore, here's another one. Macy Mohan, another one. Amani McGee. Zane's not here, Zane Wow. Cheyenne Khan. Caleb Johnson. Cassius Jackson. Zohaib kickball. Seth Hancock. That's one of my Trick County friends here. So. Emily Hancock. Tomas Duncan. Jude Dewar. Rowan Desai. Hunter Gavalier. Aiden Davis. KJ Crump. Yeah, they know the word. Sarah Covington. Maggie Tuning. Kate Kansler. Allison Bullen. And Will Bryan. This is part of my homework. Edward Braxton. Let's see if we got forgotten one. Molly. Molly Bennett. That's all. Okay.
When Miss Humphreys was going around earlier, she had some forms. Now, one of these forms was for pictures. One of the forms is for project graduation. If you would like to fill those out and give them back to either me or Miss Humphreys or Teresa or Miss Humphrey, any of us, we will take those tonight. If not, you can turn those in tomorrow. But there's somebody special that we failed to mention that we really need to mention, and that is Rayanne Wyatt. Rayanne has worked so tirelessly to make a really special project graduation. So I just want to thank her now in advance because there's so much work that has gone into this party. It's going to be the party of a lifetime. I think you're going to have a wonderful time, but there's so much planning that goes into something like this, and you don't realize it until you're in the middle of it. So we really do thank you. Thank you, Rayanne. Let's give her a round of applause.
We would like to thank Ms. Humphreys and Ms. Craig for being our homeroom teachers and for helping make our senior year special in these challenging times. We would also like to thank Ms. We would like to thank Ms. Humphrey for how hard she has worked for us to be in school as much as we have, and for her being our biggest supporter and our cheerleader through it all. And we will never forget to work hard and be good citizens.